to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast.
Okay, welcome back. This is the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast, and I'm Tron, co-host. Alongside me, the other co-host, because co-existing since episode 1 is the TenInchCowboy. Wow. Crazy times here in the Warzone. Crazy experiences this week. How was your week in Verdansk and Rebirth Island?
Ooh, yeah, it's been good. My voice...
Good?
It's been good. Not great, and not good, but good. I've been, I scream, as you know, I scream a lot when I play, and I've played a lot this week. So again, my voice just... It's not going to be 100%. I probably should be more careful about this, but it's just the way that I am when I play. I put every ounce of passion I have into every drop I make, and it takes a toll on my voice. But with that said, it was a great week. Dialing in my loadouts, starting to feel the groove of the Warzone again. I played basically every day this week for the first time in a long time, and had a couple of late sessions this week where you lose track of time, so tired for work the next day. So it was a good week for me. How was it for you, Tron?
Wow. Yes, it was emotional. I mean, we had some passionate times. We had some epic wins. Most notably, you and I getting a duos on Verdansk win, in which, it was a 2v2 situation at the end of the match. Our wits paired directly against their wits, and guess who outwitted them? We did. We got the win. Do you remember that? Any recollections of that, baby?
I actually don't remember. Where was it ending? Where were we? I don't remember anything, actually.
Okay, so perhaps my theory is that maybe there is some sort of cognitive damage going on. Now a little bit more validated, but yes, we were on the roof of prison on Rebirth Island.
Oh, Rebirth. You said Verdansk. Rebirth, I completely remember that win.
Fuck!
100% remember that. I thought there was you said duos in Verdansk. So yeah.
Oh, shit!
So the cognitive function's still alive and well. Very clearly remember the end of that matchup. Yeah, we were both alive. I was downed. You finished him off. We split off at the very end, which actually was a genius idea, because as I downed one of them, all the attention was on me. You had wrapped a little bit further around and just destroyed both of them when I was getting pork rolled by them. It was a great victory. But yes, that was on Rebirth.
Okay, sorry for misspeaking again. Maybe the cognitive declines on this end. I don't know, but I'm sure the listeners have a strong theory about that. But that said, I mean, that just takes us into, I think, an impromptu topic here, which is late game. The difference between winning and losing in many instances, especially now, like with the overall skill floor of like Warzone players being so elevated, like there's no mistakes a lot of times that you can make in the end. But one of those things that you have to do right is you have to be aware of the circle's rotation. All right, you got to see, is it pushing away or is it pulling towards you? If it's pulling, you're in a good spot. You should be leveraging that. If it's pushing, you might be getting your ass kicked. In our case, it was going to push away from us. So what we did is, let's paint a picture here. Cowboy and I are saddled up on the roof of prison. There's a team directly below us. We're pinging them on our little heartbeats. I see the circle starts pushing. I say, hey, I'm going to float, get out in front of it. You hang here on the roof. We split up, which, many amateurs probably wouldn't think to do that. We did that. Then what happens? They come bolting out of prison with the gas. They see me, they're shooting, and then Cowboys raining hell from above. We got it done. Lesson on the table.
Yeah, it confused them. And in that quick moment of being like, oh shit, oh wait, one's over here, I don't know, we destroyed them, and it felt great. And they were the losers and we were the winners. And yeah, I feel like a lot of time amateurs think the best thing to do is stick together, obviously. It's like, oh, if we stay together, we're probably going to win. It's like, no, actually, you're an easy shot for one AR. You know what I mean? Like, just plow both of you down, game over. And that's happened to us how many times? Countless.
I mean, that's really the lesson. And I'm glad you're illuminating it, is 100% is having that wherewithal and that trust to spread out, because you're more dangerous when you approach a team, an enemy team, like with a multi-pronged approach from different angles, triangulation of fire. That is really the most difficult to defend against and the most lethal. So, if you're both bunkered up in a little room, all it takes is one stun grenade and you're both going, oh, fuck, stun, stun, before you're both just dead instantly. Whereas, if you got one across from you with the line of sight, keeping your eyes on each other, then it can work out. So, yeah, I felt that was like a step in the right direction for our playstyle, for our communication and execution. So I was proud of that. But to take us all the way back to the beginning, my week in the Warzone was pretty damn good, a lot of fun. But that really started with my cheeriness started to escalate on June 22nd when they released a patch, which did what we all expected and what was promised, and that was nerf the MG82, the antagonist, the nemesis of episode 30 that we really ranted on. What are your thoughts on when they put this nerf through?
I mean, it helped a lot. People are still rolling with it, if I'm not wrong. People still use it, and it's still a great ground loot weapon if, you're dropping in and you need a secondary. It's slow and clunky, and it takes like basically an entire match to reload, but it's a viable weapon. It's just not the super power that it was before. Definitely restoring a little bit of balance, even though there's still quite frankly a bit of an imbalance between several guns in the rest of the field, which I'm sure we're going to jump into. But yeah, I think this week was a lot more, relaxing is the wrong word.
Reassuring, perhaps?
Reassuring? No, I wouldn't say reassuring. What is it giving me assurance in?
Well, the fact that they quickly kind of, reconciled this huge problem with the game. It was a broken gun. The game was broken while the MG82 was raining hellfire, and they kind of promptly addressed it. I mean, we literally didn't have to wait till the next podcast for that to happen.
Yeah. I guess comparatively, in the past, it has taken them much longer to fix broken weapons. Is this the quickest turnaround to fix a broken weapon ever?
I think it's up there. It was less than a week, maybe one. I mean, the patches are normally Tuesday, Thursdays, and I think it was really that first Tuesday we got this.
Yeah, I mean, the DMR took a long time. The MAC-10 took a long time. The FAR took a long time. Yeah, I mean, maybe. The Grau, I think, was insane for a while, too. That I can't remember, actually. Maybe this was the quickest turnaround. Yeah, so, I mean, I guess a reassurance, I don't know if I'd use that word. I guess it's no, I wouldn't use that word. I'm just going to stay away from reassurance.
Okay. Well, he's felt better than last week, but not reassured. The reassurance is the word I was feeling when this came out. I was like, okay, thank you. There is back to that commitment we talked about to the weapon balancing and giving everyone a fucking chance here. Good. And you say it's still out there. I haven't encountered it that much, although it's still ground loot, so you kind of get it early game. But the nerfs were substantial. It's really knocked it off its pillar. The real now hog that stepped into the limelight, the new meta, for those of you who haven't got the memo out there, is the FARA 82. Do you want to kind of tee that up? Because I know you have a lot of experience with the FARA through its first introduction last season.
Yeah, so you said FARA 82. I'll correct you. That's FARA 83. It's the MG 82. So just a little side note there.
Fuck. So many numbers.
I know, it's tough. I know. I think the cognitive function is definitely on my side this episode. But yeah, no, I leveled the FARA up a while ago. I was hoping that it could be something for me, maybe a month back. I can't remember when exactly it was. So I put the time in, leveled the FARA up, and now I'm sitting pretty, aren't I? And I love it. I love the FARA. It's my long-range AR. It's been a long time since I've found an AR that that suits my style, which is erratic shooting, terrible control, but the ability to pin the trigger down for long periods of time, which I do. And I really like the FARA because there is a low level of recoil. It slaps. It hits really hard. And it actually is pretty mobile. I mean, the ADS, it seems to be like a little slow, but it's just kind of got all the things that I like about a longer range weapon. And yeah, there's no doubt why it's the meta, and I dig it. I'm super into it. Are you still on the AK train, or have you transitioned to the FARA?
I've definitely, thrown it full go into my loadouts. Like, I am not somebody that, even when the AK was my go-to undisputed weapon these past few months, weeks, whatever it may be, I still had other options in my little loadout list. Like I always have at least one or two kind of main biatches that I kind of work with. And so that used to be the Car 98. Then it was kind of the Mac 10 this past week. But then once I heard all this stuff about the Farah, I threw it in there. My main takeaway is this is basically like what the M13 wishes it could be. It seems like the same recoil, which is nothing, and it lasers people in terms of its strength. So I have it in there. I've been playing around with different configurations. I've actually paired it with the AK. So
you're using the Farah as a short range weapon.
Well, I was to start, but I've paired it both ways. So I have one loadout where the Farah is my like max damage long range AR, and then I have a short range AK with it, and then the converse of that, I have one where I have the long range AK and then the short range Farah. I can't make up my mind which I like.
Wow. Can you just step away from the AK for the love of God? Just let it go.
I love it. I'm having fun with it. And last we left off was these barrels were like no recoil. Now it's still easy to control, but the tinfoil hat in me feels like there was a stealth nerf to those barrels a little bit. Any thoughts on that? Have you felt that too?
Yeah, because the AK last week when you let me try yours was just a laser itself. If it has any recoil now, that's certainly more than it had last week, which would imply some kind of nerf. But let me ask you this, is like, you know, the guy that's checking all this shit all the time, did they not announce? Was there no public announcement of a nerf to the Cold War barrels? Or was there an announcement? I thought they announced all this, or no?
No, so the patch that went live on the 22nd addressed the MG82 specifically.
Oh.
But that was the only weapons tuning noted in the patch.
Oh.
But again, I'm saying, I think it was like a stealth thing, maybe not. You know, I'm sure the testers would have probably seen that by now, but it just felt a little bit more recoil than it was during that crazy few days where it was like nothing going on. I don't know, again, could be in my head, or it could just be I was cracked out on those energy drinks all that week and I was playing all good, and now I'm back to being shitty old Tron.
Was it Game Fuel, Mountain Dew Game Fuel?
I didn't actually have any of that. I was just like,
oh,
that could explain it. You know, maybe that shit gives you superhuman powers. Maybe it's legit.
I've never tried it, but you can send me a box of that Mountain Dew. I will definitely test it out and promote it on the show. So aside from that, what are you running for your loadouts? Are you kind of sticking with this AK Farah, like long range, short range, back and forth, potato, or was there something else in the mix right now?
No, I'm really bouncing between either a long range AK or Farah, and then I pair that with either a short range Mac 10. You actually inspired me to go back to the Mac 10. I'm loving it as my sidearm, especially on Rebirth. So I've either been rotating that, or I'll do the AK as the short range, or sometimes I'll go with that Farah one that's a short range. But kind of those three guns in various rotations. That's where I'm at. How about you, buddy?
Yeah, so Farah, 100% Farah, loving it, digging it. I also have a skin for the Farah where once I start killing people, it turns a different color,
That's cool.
I've had this skin for months now, and I just realized that, and that's the sad part, is because I was finally starting to get kills with the Farah. So I'm just now noticing that after months of playing with it, but that's super cool. So I'm using the Farah as my long-range AR, and then I'm also on the Mac 10 train. Again, it's so easy to control. I just love that fire rate. I love the mobility. You can just move around with it, which is so refreshing. And yeah, it's just like, I, for some reason, do well with the Mac 10. I don't know. It's just like, it's just a gun that I've always enjoyed playing with. Like, it's the one that I feel comfortable with falling back to when I don't know what to do. It's basically like, it's just the short range gun for me. I've accepted it. Until something new comes along that I dig and love, the Mac 10 is basically it. And paired with that Farah, they make a really good 1-2 combo, which I'm all about. So yeah, I'm on the Mac 10 Farah train.
All right, yeah, that's hard to argue with. I know we have our Discord's been popping off with weapons discussions, and those are really up there in terms of recommendation. People also really rocking the nail gun. And, you know, a note on that, one of our Discord users brought it to our attention that I got to give them credit. They said, actually, you can unlock the nail gun in Plunder. So if you don't own the standalone game, there's still hope for you. If you want to be sticking nails into people in the Warzone for whatever the fuck, because we can do that. And they said basically what you got to do is use a special weapon, which they recommended to use the crossbow with the explosive tip bolts. You get the 5 kills, you hop out of plunder, do it again. They said if you land in Storage Town, that's really kind of hot zone, I guess, in plunder. So that's it out there. Have you tried getting the nail gun?
No, I haven't. I've heard such good things about it that it slaps basically, but also I've heard that I believe it has a 20 round clip, if you want to call a nail, a box of nails or whatever, a clip. I'm not a construction aficionado. I'm not sure what a clip in a nail gun looks like, but I think it's 20 nails, right?
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. That a side note is the way you replenish those is, you get SMG ammo.
Yeah, it's pretty silly. Yeah, so I just, I'm not a good shot, and 20 rounds, I bet, flies by on that thing, and it just doesn't seem like it's a good gun for me. So I'm not going to invest the time into it, even though I think it's a cool idea for a weapon, and I don't know how thought out it was with, the SMG ammo and, nails and all of that. But no, have you tried it out? Are you going to go after it?
I was really close to, but again, I was just thirsting for getting my ass kicked in Verdansk and Rebirth too much that I decided against it. And speaking of patch notes, the nail gun was not touched. The MG82, as we said, nerfed pretty well out of the meta. Nail gun, though, not touched, and they included this note that we will be keeping a close eye on the nail gun because we feel it kills about a bullet faster than we would like. With extremely low rate of fire weapons, they can be on a razor's edge of balance, wherein missing a single shot can turn an incredibly fast TTK into one of the slowest in its class. This is not the case with the nail gun now, but if required an additional bullet to kill and nothing else changed, it likely would be. So we may push and pull on some of its functionality to ensure that it fulfills its role as a highly mobile, close-range, fully auto dominator that can rival shotgun TTKs but rapidly wanes in efficacy the further enemies are from you. They are just nails after all.
They are just nails after all. Interesting point. Just nails. Nails are a horrible, shape of metal to get shot at you. So I'm not sure if that's, really well thought out. Nails seem like something that would hurt you really bad. But yeah, that's cool. I mean, if you were inside of a house, it would be, I would assume it's a perfect weapon for like a mega close range. Just like, oh shit, turn a corner, guy's right on you. You're trying to melee him. But if you had your nail gun, you would just shred him.
That's exactly it. And kind of like they described there, they purposely want it to be, it sounds like, the strongest gun toe-to-toe for an SMG. They want it to rival shotguns, but they want that effectiveness to really drop off. The moment you're 5-10 meters away, you're on the other side of the room. It's not going to be killing as fast. So I mean, I haven't seen it completely dominating Warzone. It actually seems like not that many people, I'm surprised, run it. So with them not touching it, I think I'm fine with it. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not taking over the game and breaking the game, it's all good. I think it's a cool, if you look at Tron's triangle, it definitely serves a purpose in the triangulation, which I think is the term of the podcast this week, is triangulation. It fits in there depending on what corner, you know what I mean? It's up to you, but it's definitely in the triangle.
Yes, I agree. So I think we're really back to a balanced state, although I'm sure a far nerf is coming. Interestingly enough, I saw a little chart this week from the website. I forget the fucking name of the website, but it's like, it gives you all your information on the most popular loadouts and guns being used in Warzone. And it showed basically a little chart about each of the metas, like how popular was each gun at its height. And what they're showing right now is that the Farah, they said, is more popular at this point in the Warzone than the AMAX ever was at any point. So it's taken that mantle as the long-range AR of choice in terms of TTK and damage.
And it makes sense because the AMAX always had a fucked up amount of recoil. Controller players had a hard time playing with the AMAX. Now the Farah is so much easier to shoot. It's a no-brainer. Totally makes sense.
All right. Well, you mentioned, game-breaking stuff like that. Some people consider dead silence to be exactly that. Some people want it out of the game. I think, fair enough, it is a little unbalanced. It is just such an insane advantage you can get. And right now, the prevalence of it is extremely high. Like, it's all over the place. But they had a note about it in these patch notes. It's kind of their final little wrap-up here. And they said, we are exploring all avenues in terms of changes to provide, quote, fair and reactable counterplay options to dead silence. A decision like this must be made carefully, especially considering how it may destabilize other aspects of the game. We cannot promise anything at this moment, but as we close in on an appropriate solution, we will share more details. Sit tight. Any thoughts on that?
Interesting. Now, what are your thoughts? I feel like you would have a stronger opinion about this.
I mean, one, I'm glad they're aware of it. I'm glad they're at least noting it publicly because it's an issue. Like if the specialist perk was a problem, this is a big problem. But my main thing is curiosity. Like I'm curious, what would be a countermeasure to this?
Shorter.
I think you would effectively have to tweak like most of the perks. Maybe I'm wrong though.
Shorter. Yeah, I think that you make Dead Silence shorter. I think that it basically, and maybe it doesn't regenerate once you kill somebody, which is a huge thing.
But see, the fact that they used the word counterplay, to me, that word is specific in meaning like you are playing something to counteract it, not just like, oh, let's make Dead Silence a little weaker. It's more like, oh, let's give players a chance to basically react to it in a successful way, counter it, you know?
Yeah, but like, what does that even mean?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Then I guess if you're actually reading it and paying attention to it, yeah, it's a little. I don't know how that would work. I don't know. Yeah, maybe they make it shorter, or maybe it's like it's not dead silence. Maybe it's like semi-silence or something. You know, maybe it's like where you hear something, you're not sure where it's coming from. I don't know, dude.
Or like, yeah, as they run instead of footsteps, it's like a whoosh.
Yeah, it's like the wind blowing or something kind of. Yeah, you would pick up on that so quickly though, so I doubt it's something like that.
I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it. I know they're not great with subtext when it comes to, the narrative, so maybe I'm just reading too much into that, but to me, that's what it sounds like they're alluding to. I'm just curious what that could mean. I do think the perks need a massive overhaul, but that's a topic for another day. Although I hope when they come into this new Call of Duty 21 Vanguard or whatever it's called, they do that. Because, just to pitch my basic ideas would be, yeah, go ahead, nerf Dead Silence, but, heartbeat meters, ghost perk, suppressors, all those need major overhauling. Because right now they're just too easy. They're too simple. It's like, oh, I want to be off the map. I just go boop, and then I dis-a-fucking-peer. I don't think that's how it works in a real Warzone. But again, topic for another day.
Yeah, wow. I think that the two things that should be limited that are fucking kind of stuff up are Dead Silence, as we're talking about. I think the nerf is a good thing. I also think stopping power rounds, just get rid of them. I don't think we need stopping power rounds. But to be honest, I've seen less of them. Now that I'm actually thinking about it, since the update, since Season 4's began, I haven't seen too many stopping power rounds. I feel like before that, it was everywhere. I felt like stopping power rounds were like in every third crate. Now I feel like I don't see them anymore. Have you gotten any lately?
No, and we covered this on the show. So cognitive ability, legit question. We covered it that they nerfed it and announced that they were nerfing the prevalence and frequency of stopping power rounds.
Good. That's what I thought. That's what I was remembering in that rant. So perfect. Glad to hear it. So Dead Silence and stopping power rounds being nerfed. Good to hear. But talking about specialist perks, have you have any encounters with that perk this week?
Yes, I think you did as well. Got it in Rebirth on a random crate. Popped the little coin. One of them. I collected it. And the one perk that was kind of really dope that I didn't really realize existed is, I think it's called High Alert, our teammate pointed out. And what happens is when an enemy sees you, whether you're aware of it or not, the periphery of your screen starts to glow red. And it's like this spidey sense type of thing. Like, oh, fuck, I'm in somebody's crosshairs. It helped me out of a jam, though I did die immediately after. But it was cool to know that that's out there. So, yes, I did. Did you?
I think I got one when you and I were playing together, and then I think I got one today, or no, the guy I was playing with got one today. I was playing with a listener, and he got one today, and it was pretty cool. Right off the bat in Rebirth, I don't think it was even in a crate. I think it was just sitting there, which was surprising. So yeah, have had a couple of run-ins on Rebirth, which it seems to be more prevalent on, but I don't know. Again, it's just my experience.
None on Verdansk for me as well, so they're clearly very rare. Maybe not even out there in the ecosystem. We'll see. But one topic, that we meant to bring up last week in our rants about these new long range barrels for the Cold War weapons, like just taking over the game, is it seems like it's really made sniping at this point obsolete. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I've set the car down. I don't know if there's any indication from my gameplay is that I don't pick up my cars often anymore. I will if I'm rolling in a quad, and sometimes it's good to have one sniper, just as it's good to have one Strela Rocket Man. But typically I will, if I'm in a quad and I'll ask the group like, hey, anybody mind if I snipe? I'll do that. But I mean, I used to play, it was no question car every round. In Rebirth, in Verdansk, every time I played, car was my go-to. Now it's like maybe it's like a 5% chance. Yeah, 1 in every 20 loadouts I'm grabbing my car. It's gone down dramatically. What about you? I know you were a big car guy.
Yeah, I was a huge Car 98 guy, and it was fun while it lasted. But at this point, like the dynamic of the game has really necessitated it. Is you don't have really the time now to be peeking and grinding and gliding at people. Like nowadays, it seems like you peek and you don't hit that first shot. If they got that FARA 98 long range build, they're just beaming the shit out of you. So it's like, it's just not worth it. And we talked about the low recoil, how you can really hit people from a distance now with these slappers. So I felt that way, like, wow, this is really obsolete. But interestingly enough, there was a big event that took place this week that we touched on. That was the World Series of Warzone. The Trios North America round happened. It was hot and heated. We both really watched it. But yes, to tie in the two subjects, because it's just a seamless connection here on the agenda, is I thought sniping was obsolete, but I gotta say, I saw a shitload of people sniping in the World Series of Warzone, so I guess maybe it's not obsolete for everyone, just for amateurs. I don't know. Do you want to tee up your experience watching the World Series of Warzone?
I was watching a trio that wasn't sniping. It's also different dynamics because they're playing with, and this is, I guess, what would make you think that they're not going to be sniping, is it's just like 140 whatever players, the best in the world or the best in North America. So these guys, they ain't getting no Timmies in their lobbies. These guys are all incredible players. It'd make you think that they wouldn't want to use a sniper because they would get just destroyed so quickly if they're peeking. You know what I'm saying? Like it would be, I feel like, an AR fest. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this went down before or after the MG82 nerf?
So the MG82 nerf came in the nick of time, literally the morning of the start of the World Series of Warzone.
Wow. Do you think there was any kind of coincidence there?
I don't know, but I know JGod tweeted out earlier in the day, like, wow, pretty surprised Raven didn't patch that before the World Series. I'm curious if it's going to be like a gentleman's agreement where you don't run that gun. And then Raven released the patch. It might have been, I think, actually, maybe it was the day before the World Series kicked off, but it was later in the day. And so Raven then replied to JGod's original tweet with like one of these emoji where it's like, sweating, stressed out. So it's kind of comedic, but I was really, really glad to see that because we did see a lot of guns on display. Everyone wasn't running the FARA. There was a lot of Car 98s, a lot of AK-47s. I saw MAC-10s. I saw a lot of MP5s. I saw a few Krigs in there. I even saw a guy rocking a fucking Strela at the end of one game. Damn near won it for his team.
That's what I'm talking about.
So from my perspective, I felt like the World Series of Warzone, it delivered. We are really still hoping to download a video and do a breakdown. I have several games that I kind of shortlisted because they really, I think, could be interesting. I'm thinking we're going to do one from the perspective of like a real sweaty run and gun aggressive team, Sweatlord team, and then one from more of a coward amateur play for the win team, just so we can, compare and contrast those. But what was your takeaways from like watching this spectacle?
Well, I think it's interesting. This is the first of its kind, right, for Warzone. They haven't done this before, the World Series of Warzone.
They've done like a similar style event, but never with this quality from top to bottom and never with these set of rules.
Yeah, and I think it's really fascinating that, again, there was this huge season-changing, update to the season. Season 4 comes out not too far in front of this. There is a completely broken game with a gun that is just like absolutely destroying. And then they issued the patch to that, the fix for that, the day before this. I think that there's no coincidence there. I think they wanted that to happen because this would have been so insane if the MG82 was at its peak during this. It would be like a totally different thing. I bet it would have like invalidated it in a sense to a lot of people, but they fixed that in time. And what's even more interesting is that now you have the best players in the world that aren't necessarily in tune with what the best weapon is now that they've made this patch. So they're playing with all kinds of weapons. I think that was a really cool element of this. It was like you saw the best people in the world kind of like getting creative, falling back on what they think is best. I saw, Z-Laner, I watched Z-Laner. He was sniping with the car at one point, I think. And he's not really a snipe guy at all. And so it was really interesting to see them all playing different styles, different ways. Big fan of it. I watched about half of it. And yeah, I mean, it's just like, it makes me realize how bad I am at the game, frankly. But it was fun to watch.
Yeah, fun to watch, entertaining from start to finish, crazy finish in terms of the point totals. So basically, not to get too deep into it, but there was kind of two competitions going on. The real pride of the competition was which trio squad was going to amass the most points over the course of the 6 games to be the winner. Team Aiden walked away with the winning score, and his team was composed of Aiden, Rated, and actually a man we mentioned last week, Huskers, was on the team. So yeah, formerly killed by fellow amateur Huskers, Aiden and Rated won it, pulled it out at the end. Aiden himself getting like 9 or 10 kills in the final round, which, to us amateurs, we know that's impressive, but to the Sweatlords, we're like, man, that's not that much. But then when you realize it's against the world's best players, it was incredible. So props to them. Then the other competition was like the team captains and who they drafted. We don't really want to get into that because it's just too much in the weeds. But one interesting takeaway, they interviewed Aiden at the end, and I was, sitting there eagerly, like trying to get some pointers here, help me out. First question they asked him was like, hey, any advice? Like, what's the most important quality in Warzone to winning? And I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm going to get good at whatever he drops. And then he's like, well, gunplay, like gun skill. And I was like, oh, fuck. So.
Yeah, no shit. It's like, yeah, being good with your gun helps a lot in this game.
Yeah, but here I was hoping he's like, oh, knowing the rotation or, something I could feasibly get good at. Gun skill, I'm kind of at the ceiling where I'm at, so.
Also, side note, are Aiden and Raiden related?
Aiden and Rated.
Oh, Rated. I thought it was Raiden like in Mortal Kombat.
No, I probably slurred or stuttered as I've been known to do, but that said, another interesting tidbit he dropped was that they landed at the same spot 5 out of the 6 games, which we are kind of, the way we play Verdansk at least, is we are very much a squad that's like random, each go, somebody picks it, we kind of flip the coin, go somewhere on the map, we kind of avoid a few areas, but otherwise it's pretty open. Then you flip over to Rebirth, we're kind of the opposite. We have a rotation of places we really like to land. So do you have any thoughts on like one strategy versus the other?
Well, what was the spot they landed? You said 5 out of 6 times they landed in the same spot. What spot?
I fucking didn't catch that. I don't know.
What? Are you kidding me? You're paying attention to his post-interview and you're not... Oh my gosh.
Well, he didn't say, but I'm sure when we go back and watch the games, we'll quickly surmise like what that spot is. So maybe I'll report next week on that, hopefully.
Wow. Jeez, I can't believe you don't know what spot it was. It's tough too. I think that your gameplay changes whether you have like a duo, trio, or quad, scabby. That's such a long discussion about where you should drop, but it's weird. It is an interesting point how we have our selected spots on Rebirth where we like to go. And on Verdansk, it's much more open. It probably comes down to because Rebirth is so much more fast paced. Rebirth is like you land, you get your shit, you're killing, you're trying to survive. You did it. It's like very, very fast. On Verdansk, it's kind of, no matter where you land, I mean, unless you're like in the middle of nowhere, no matter what little burrow you land in, you're going to get enough to get your loadout regardless. It just take more time. You're almost trying to choose spots that aren't super hot and super sweaty so you survive longer because the time investment in Verdansk is so much higher. Dropping into a hot drop into Rebirth isn't as big of a commitment, especially because you have Rebirth. If somebody survives, you come back. So it's, I don't know. That's a deeper conversation. I'm not sure why we don't have certain spots, though. I mean, we kind of have lately, though. We've been going to Summit a lot. We've kind of been, with the Red Door event, we had our spots we were going to on Verdansk.
I mean, there might be a spark going on here because you're illuminating some shit. Just hearing you go through that is, I feel like the way it really works for us, the reasoning is okay, on Rebirth, we know where we want to drop, because I think what's more valuable on Rebirth is having the knowledge, having the security, the safety is kind of important, because you know when you land in Rebirth, it's going to be a hot drop. You're going to need immediately a gun and a place where you can kind of hold yourself to the enemy forces. So having the familiarity, when we drop fucking headquarters, we know immediately, get up the stairs, hold the stairs, we're good, or whatever room we go into. We kind of know the approach. So that's kind of what is most valuable in Rebirth. Whereas in Verdansk, you're kind of looking for the upside. You're looking for like a mix of safety and lootability. And so I think it's kind of just different priorities there. That's kind of my take. You were kind of illuminating that idea for me. I don't know if it's accurate, but I feel strongly about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we're right on there. I wish you knew where Aiden rated and whoever the other guy was landed, because I'd be curious. Huskers. Oh, damn, that's a fucking powerful team right there. Those guys are good.
Yes. World Series of Warzone champions.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But I got killed by Huskers one time. But other than that, no, nothing really to add to that.
All right. Well, and another reason is, I think, where we can't get too attached to one spot on Verdansk is the size of the map is just so exponentially big that the circle rotations from game to game can kind of make certain drops like obsolete, especially if there's not really a vehicle. Like if you were always going to try and drop at Summit, which yes, we did do that quite a bit this last season. But if the circle's starting all the way down at Prison, it's like, we know we're going to have to drop, loot quick, get the helicopter and get the fuck out of there. So it's not really conducive to like, this is where we go, this is what we hold down the whole fucking game, we're going to win. Like, you can't do that. But speaking of circle rotations, getting in, one thing we kind of came across this week in playing is a strategy we should talk about on the show, and that is what we refer to as gatekeeping. And I'm sure you all, maybe not all of you, but most of you have at least done it, is where you're in the zone or at least close to the zone. There's another team way farther outside. The gas is pushing, so you know they're going to be heading your way. I personally, like, that is my bread and butter. Like, that is me coaching the fucking Utah Jazz, running the pick and roll with John Stockton and Karl Malone. Like, that's what I do on the Warzone. That's my most effective strategy. And I think it's pretty fucking dope, and people should be doing it more. What are your thoughts on, like, gatekeeping?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I mean, you just have to, one, not be in a position in which you're against the ropes. You know, you have to be like, okay, I got what I need. I'm ready to hold somebody. Let's make the move, the tactical decision to get in front of them. You know, it's just like another level of awareness, and you're not always in that position. But of course, gatekeeping is great. And if you can, if you know a team is somewhere and you can get ahead with them, and you know that there's like, say, a field or like, something that they have to cross where there's no cover, and you can get ahead of them and you got the vehicles to do it, or, the time to get around them, it's great. Gatekeeping is a great strategy, and it's a great way to just really ruin somebody's day.
So, I mean, yeah, gatekeeping is where it's at. People need to do it more. It'll make you feel like a sweat lord. It'll make you feel powerful. But otherwise,
I mean, I think that if you're afraid to just get involved, it's like, where they are. If you don't have the cojones, the onions, the stones to just go inside of that building and wipe them, gatekeeping is for you. It's a good strategy all around, but it's epic for amateurs that, don't necessarily want to get involved. I think that's why you like it.
Oh, and you like to fucking get involved.
I get involved every time.
Yeah, and how does that work out?
Not very good most of the time.
But gatekeeping usually does. We've had some great gatekeeping times in our day.
Yeah, I'm just saying, sometimes it's good to get involved. If you want to go camp a building in front of someone, you just got to time it right. Listen, I'm not about trying to spend 5 minutes waiting in a building for the gas to push a group of people out. You know what I mean?
Well, I told you last week, the old Tron was run and gun, get his ass slapped. Still getting my ass slapped, but I'm playing smarter, not harder, and I'm having a little bit more success, so maybe you should try it yourself.
Yeah, listen, for the record, I actually wanted to talk about this. You say you're playing smarter.
Oh.
Listen, I'm the type, I'll just put it this way. I'm the type of player, if somebody's downed, of course I'm not going to immediately go run and get them if there's like an immediate threat right there. But what I'm not going to do is wait for them to die and be quiet and then make sure I know I can get the kill before getting involved. I'm fucking going in there trying to kill that guy and save my boy. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Lately, you've been taking this smarter approach to playing where you let me die, basically, and then once it settles down, then you go in. So there's a difference between playing smart and playing cowardly, and that's what I'm saying.
You're misrepresenting these situations, because I always ask.
No.
I ask a familiar question when you're down. I say, "Are you safe?" And more often than not, you go, "No, there's two people pushing me." So yeah, sure. You want me to run in there? I'm really gonna fucking help the situation out there. No.
That's one situation. It's been happening every single time, no matter how many people are standing above my down body.
Wow, I have revived you more times than I can remember. So I don't want to hear it. And I even had some epic revives the other night when we were playing, like a real late one. I remember we were laying behind a wall. There was like a fucking airstrike overhead. Here I am laying in the gutter, face down in the muck, getting my boy Cowboy, but clearly that not remembered on your end.
It's the moments in which you could step up and be a hero, you're stepping back from to be safe.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, before we get a little heated, I just got to say we're got to move on to the end of the podcast here. We had some amazing questions this week in the Discord from our listeners. So if you're not on the Discord, get your ass on there. I feel like we really covered them, though, this week. So if you want to pose us some questions, you got some burning things you want discussed on the zone, you got some thoughts you want to get off your chest, get on the Discord.
Get on there, baby. Ask us a couple questions. We'll talk about it.
Well, that's going to do it for us this week. Big week in the Warzone. We saw the World Series go down. We're going to be covering the Duos event, which is coming up next month. Going to be way more interesting, I think, seeing duo squads, although trios was awesome.
Oh, is it a World Series with duos?
Yeah, so this was the Trios North America. Next week or a few weeks from now is Trios Europe, and then we're going to be swinging back for Duos North America.
Oh.
So we hope to cover all that. We'll see, though, getting some stuff cranking up here. Join the Warzone Discord for the latest news. Follow us, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and share the word of the Warzone Amateur Hour far and wide, baby, because we're just getting going here. This was episode 31. Thanks so much for joining us. We will talk to you next week, and until then,
good luck in the gulag.